I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Jack Kellogg. In just the first few weeks of 2025, he's made nearly $5 million. In this interview, we're going to break down exactly how he's done this. He's closing in on $20 million in total profits, and the lessons he shares might not be what you think. They're very counterintuitive. Stick around, leave a comment, tell me what you learned at the end of this video too. Let's see if you can learn from the man. All right, what's up everybody? Tim Sykes here with the man of the hour, Jack Kellogg. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
No, of course, it's my pleasure. Congrats on all the recent success. Making nearly $5 million so far in just the first few weeks of 2025. How does it feel?
It feels surreal. It feels like I'm getting back to my 2021 roots a little bit.
So closing in on $20 million overall in total profits. You've come a long way in just a few years. Going back to the beginning, because most people watching this, they don't have millions, they don't even have hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're starting just brand new in a very volatile market, right? So going back to your beginning stages, what do you think people should do in the beginning of their trading career so that they have a shot at becoming a multimillionaire after a few years?
Yeah, there's a few things that I'd recommend beginners to start with. The first thing being invest in your education. The second thing being start small. And the third thing being realize it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you can understand these three concepts and implement those three concepts, you're going to have a much better chance at finding success and finding consistent profitability versus just blowing out and exiting the game in too early.
No, I love what you just said there. This is what people have been doing in the challenge. 40 plus millionaires, students now. We have a very specific path. I want people to just, follow that path. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Do you think being in the challenge helped you grow and kind of molded you because there were already a few millionaires beforehand and then you can kind of just follow in their footsteps?
Yeah, I mean, going back to high school and going back to growing up, I would always just cheat off the person next to me because that's what I learned how to do, is to be a good cheater.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I applied those same rules with stock trading and penny stock trading. Is I just looked at what other successful, transparent people are doing. I can't look on the test of somebody next to me and just predict what they're writing down. I need to see really what are they circling, A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with what your challenge offers. Is a transparent community to follow along and see how people are learning and what they're doing. And I just took that really seriously. And the problem is all these other, not to get on too much of a rant here, but all these other educational services out there, not to name any names, but these people aren't backed by any track records. They only share what they want to share, and it's impossible to learn from them. So you need to find somewhere that's transparent, and I think that the challenge is one of these only opportunities that really give that transparency.
I like that analogy of cheating off somebody, but it's not cheating when, someone is willing to share all their strategies and all their trades. And now, the student has become the master, right? You learn from other people in the challenge. Now you're helping mentor other people in the challenge. Every single one of you should be tuning into Jack's weekly webinars, right? So when you're now mentoring other people, do you see do you put yourself in their shoes a little bit because you were once upon a time in their shoes? Does that help you teach better?
Yeah, I definitely think it helps me teach better. I can see where people are starting to find some success, and I can also see stuff that's holding people back. I've been doing the weekly webinars for almost 2 years now. In August, it's going to be 2 years. And some people I see in the challenge, they don't have the progression and the thoughts. It's the same thing every single week. It's like dealing with somebody who's an addict, a gambling addict or a drug addict or something, and it's the same exact thing every single time, and there's no growth. But then I also see a handful of people that they're developing new questions, they're developing new trades. I'm seeing their profit charts kind of start going up to the right a little bit.
Yeah.
And I can just kind of notice what people are doing that makes them successful and what people are doing that holds them back now.
Well, give us an example. What's one good habit that you see and one bad habit?
One good habit that I see is People that really pay attention, they don't ask the same question in the next week's webinar, right? And one bad habit that I see is people keep asking the same question, expecting a different answer. And there is no different answer. I'm saying what needs to happen. And people just don't want to make the changes, or they want to hear it a different way. And the people that do succeed, they understand the question, and then they're progressing with a new question, and they're implementing that into their trading.
Yeah, I love that. Look, trading is all about adapting, not just in your trades, but asking questions, learning, right? So you're trying different things. There's a lot of people who say they want to be rich, but like, for example, in my weekly challenge webinars, I get people ask me, what do you think about this stock? Is this stock a buy? Is this stock a buy? Yep. They're not looking at the patterns. They just want they want the answer. They don't want to do the work themselves. They're just like, oh, what does Tim think? What does Jack think, right? How are you ever going to develop into a multimillionaire, let alone a self-sufficient millionaire, if you're always relying on somebody else for, quote, hot picks? Like, both you and I alert trades, but when we alert our trades, we give the reason why. Like, what is the pattern? What is the mindset? What's the goal? What's the risk? Versus, like you said, some people are asking the right questions. Going back in time, Tim Grittani, long before he was a millionaire, when he just passed $100,000, I took him on his first trip overseas to the Maldives. That was pretty crazy. But the reason why he came to the Maldives, not just because he made over $100,000 back when the challenge was brand new, guess what? He was asking the right questions. Back then, Michael Good was a mentor in the challenge, and he was like, this young guy, Tim Grittani, is asking good questions. When you ask good questions, you tend to learn better. When you learn better, you perform better over time, right? So 100%. How do we get people to ask better questions?
People should write down a list of questions not to ask. I think that's where you always start what you shouldn't do. Same thing with pattern tracking. What pattern should I not trade? I shouldn't chase spikes at 9:35 a.m. because I'm going to lose most of the time. I shouldn't ask what broker do you use, or I shouldn't ask what do you think about X stock. And if you can just create this list of things that you shouldn't do, then you can start figuring out what you should do.
I like that. And this is why I love learning from losses. I love learning from mistakes. Learn what not to do, right? Like the way that I lost $1 million on Cygnus E transactions, I took too big of a position. I had restricted stock. I couldn't get out. It was illiquid. I did everything wrong, but at the time I didn't know that it was wrong. Once I had the $1 million loss, it sucked. But now I've never had a huge loss like that since. So most people are petrified of big losses. I want to talk to you about your recent big losses, because like I said, you're up nearly $5 million in just the first few weeks of 2025. Difficult market, but have you had any losses recently, and what have you learned from them?
Yeah, I had a recent pretty bad week in losses, and it was no trade in particular that wiped me out. So I was doing a good job at cutting losses quickly and cutting my losses, but the problem was just my I don't think my mindset was right, because this was the week when the stock market was crashing, and whenever the market's crashing for whatever reason, it brings a lot of fear out into me, and I trade a lot worse because I'm not thinking right. Like when the market's crashing, I feel like the world's almost ending a little bit, so I'm not making the right decisions. And the losses that I did take, I lost about, $500,000 in a week?
Yeah.
And the biggest loss I had on that was, I think it was a $230,000 loss on Baba, which was my $1 million trade. So I got back into the stock as it was breaking out, and the breakout failed. And I gave it some time to kind of come down, and I thought it was going to kind of go back up, or kind of curl back up, and it was going to cup and handle type. But it just went from the breakout, and then it just kind of started going straight down, and I had to cut my loss once it broke through the last support level I was willing to risk. But if I had readjusted and sold the loss right away, I probably could have gotten out for a small loss, or even maybe a small profit if I had sold a little bit into the breakout. So I could have made that adaptation. And I also could have made a different adaptation, is not letting myself freak out so much when the market goes down, because we all know it's going to go back up at some point, right?
The $500,000 loss, I mean, for most people that would be devastating. For you, just put it in perspective, like that was a few days work, right? So as bad as that was, you made it all back and more in the next few days. But when you were down, remember I was like texting you and I was like, what happened to sizing down in April? And you're like, I didn't listen to myself. Like, you know, I want everyone to understand this. Even though this guy is so successful, still sometimes you don't listen to yourself. You have discipline problems. How do we correct that?
How do we correct discipline problems?
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
I specifically said, I was like, you know, you have like the beast and you have to put the beast back in the cage. And you said, I think you texted like, I'm all beast. Right?
Yep.
But at the same time, the interesting thing was, even though you didn't size down because you had that loss, I see this in you where every time you have a loss or like something negative happens, you get more motivated, right? Like you want me to tell you, like when someone's talking smack about you, you're like, who's talking crap? That motivates you, right? Did you get motivated from that $500,000 loss? And if so, what did you do? How did you utilize it to come back stronger?
Yeah, definitely. I get really motivated when I take big losses or when people talk smack or when people don't believe me or whatever it is, because I love to just keep proving people wrong and proving myself wrong, I guess, in a sense too. But usually when I take a big loss, I'll take a couple of days off, think the world's ending again. You know, I'm never going to reach new highs. Like this is really, I can't believe I did this. I'm so upset. Yeah. And I call my mom. I tell her I lost $500,000.
What did she say?
She was like, "Oh, honey, I hate when you tell me that."
Yeah, of course.
And then just kind of regroup and wait for the next big opportunity, right? And that's the most key thing. Is I'm so particular because I'm down and I know that I can't afford to have another loss, right? And
so your back is up against the wall.
That's when I always kind of trade my best. It's just the same cycle over and over again, right? So I go on a nice run, or I'm making money, and then I take a big loss, and then my back goes back up against the wall, and then I take a few steps away from the wall, and usually I wait for the best opportunity when my back's up against the wall because I don't have a lot of room, or I'm going to start kind of going into the wall, right? So then I'll usually have a big stride off the wall and I'll make some money, and then it just kind of slows down and it putters out and putters out and putters out. And then all of a sudden I'll force an opportunity like I did on the Baba breakout, and then I take a big whack and I go back to the wall and then I wait to get back off it again. And it's just the same cycle for 8 years.
It's the same cycle, but even with your big losses, your gains are bigger than your losses, so your account grows. But I want everyone to understand, It's not that you're perfect. It's not that you have a 100% win rate. What's your win rate?
58 or 57%.
So a little over 50%, but your wins are much bigger than your losses, and that's how you've become a multimillionaire. But I want people to understand, they think that like in order to become a millionaire, you have to be right 100% of the time. Like they think like you know something that they don't. What you have is a set of skills where, like you said, if your back is up against the wall, you don't want to screw up again. So then that forces you to do better, right? So I think you can still do better in, you know, it might sound crazy where this guy's up nearly 5 million, but you know you could do even better than what you're doing.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's so much opportunity in the market that there's no threshold, especially with the market bounce opportunity last week. I mean, that's an 8-figure trade if you have enough buying power. That's a $20-30 million trade if you do it right, and you have the buying power. But I'm not there yet.
Poor millionaire. He only made $2 million on the week instead of 20 or 30 million. But that's true. This is what you guys need to understand. A, it's okay to lose. B, when you lose, you can, you know, feel that anger to want to come back. C, when the market is volatile, there's opportunity after opportunity. Obviously, Jack is dealing with a giant account. Most people don't have that account size. But whether Jack is talking about being able to make, you know, 8 figures instead of 7 figures, you might be able to make 4 figures instead of 3 figures, right? But there's different opportunities if you're prepared. And a lot of people right now, they're listening and they're just in awe. I know this, I get messages all the time about your achievements, my achievements, other people in the challenge, their achievements. You don't have to go down with the ship. How do we get that through to people? Because a lot of people, forget about making a lot of money. Right now, they're just getting crushed with the S&P down 10%, the NASDAQ down nearly 20%. Most people are holding, you know, companies like Nvidia, Amazon, Tesla, that are just getting crushed? How do we get them like out of the rat race, out of this herd mentality?
It just depends on what they choose, on what they want to do.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, but most people just choose, whatever's easy. And that's just like holding the Mag 7 stocks. But now that strategy isn't working. How do we get them to see a different way?
Well, you got to understand when you have a small amount to buy and hold stocks is you're never going to get to where you want to be because the growth is too slow and it's also too volatile as well. And it's just like you're not really going to get anywhere with it. So if people have the time to invest into learning how to trade and learning how to make 10% in a day or 15 or 20% through the patterns that you've coined and created and through the patterns that I've perfected, if you don't mind. And
why would I mind? You do this better than me. I love it. The student has become the master.
And you learn how to trade. There's so much opportunity to make a ton of money in this game through these patterns.
What I want you guys to understand is that, many people, and I get messages from thousands of traders where they have $5,000, $10,000 accounts with the Mag 7, with the S&P 500. Let's say their $10,000 account would grow from like $10,000 to $12,000 over the year. So they're making their 20%, which is just $2,000. Now a $10,000 account might be down $2,000. But what I want people to understand is that whether you've grown your $10,000 to $12,000 or your $10,000 is turned into $8,000, you're losing either way. You're losing so much time and opportunity. Like 10, 20%, $1,000 or $2,000 doesn't make a damn difference in your life, and you're wasting time following the herd, following this, mass psychology, this mass delusion where you think that you can only make 10 or 20%. How do we get them to see that like the real money is not just in making or losing small amounts, but actually having the chance to go parabolic? Your account has gone parabolic. My account has gone parabolic. How do we get them focused on the right opportunities?
Just what really made me understand it, if I'm going back and putting myself in other people's shoes, is just seeing the opportunities unfold, right? So if you watch the market for the next 1, 2, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you will see an insane amount of opportunity. You will see stocks go 1,000% over a few days, maybe even 1,000% in one day, and you'll see the opportunity. And then on top of that, you're going to see the patterns that are out there on YouTube videos that are taught for free. You can see how the patterns play out, and you can be like, wow, the stock did exactly what this pattern was talked about 10 years ago. And then for me, that's like the aha moment.
Yeah.
And
seeing is believing.
Seeing is believing. When you're just talking about it, it's just like, yeah. But I'm telling you, just watch the market for a month to a year, and you will see all these opportunities play out, and you'll see how we've been able to do the things that we've been able to do, because it's not just, we didn't buy Apple at $1 per share and sell it at $2,000 per share.
Yeah.
I've taken 8,000 trades in my career. You've taken how many trades in your career?
Thousands.
Thousands of trades. It's all these trades adding up of 10%. My average percent gains 10 or 11%.
Yeah.
It's just taking these trades of making 10%, risking 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever it is, maybe making 20%, 30% on some trades, maybe making 50 to 100 on a home run, and just doing this over and over and over again, and leveling up through different market cycles. Starting at OTC, when OTC was hot, the easiest market in a sense, where the patterns were the easiest. Then learning small cap, then learning mid cap, then learning large cap, and taking advantage of the market crash, taking advantage of crypto, of options, of all these different financial instruments to make 10%. Instead of making it in a year, you're making it in minutes or in 1 day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, this is what I want you guys to understand. I love what you just said there. Studying the market, seeing these stocks. You and I are used to seeing stocks up 20%, 50%, 100%, 1,000% in a day. Most people watching this, they're watching the wrong stocks. They're watching the wrong plays. And I think that's a mistake, because what you and I have done is impossible if you're trading slower moving stocks, right? Like they're trading big cap stocks, they're investing in big cap stocks, and they just see their big cap stocks, especially right now, dropping when even as the market is dropping, there are still runners every single day that are doubling, tripling, quadrupling. And like you said, you watch these stocks, you watch YouTube videos, that's a start. But just watching in general, that's not really going to help you get to the next level. You have to watch, and then you also have to learn how to capitalize. So what tools do you use to really capitalize? Like I know you have the 7-figure cycles. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so there's a few tools that I've used over the years. So first of all, the Tim Sykes challenge where I started, and then I've developed my own tools. I've developed the power signal indicator and the 7-figure cycle model portfolio.
Yeah, explain the difference in those.
Yeah, so the power signal indicator is indicator that I worked on with Jamil from Stocks to Trade, who's the programmer, big shot programmer, very, very smart guy. And I told him what I look for in stocks to carry their momentum over into the next day. And we made this tool that pops up at 3:30 p.m. every single day that pops up the top potential stocks that are going to run the next day.
Cool.
And pops up. And then on top of that, we also hired an analyst, JCP, who's closing in on a multi-million-dollar trader. He was a former security guard, starting with just a few $1,000s. Now
and he worked at a grocery store.
And a grocery store. Now he's almost at $2 million. And he analyzes the stocks that pop up on the scanner. I actually just took a trade over the weekend. It's a long 3-day weekend, so I think there's going to be a lot of talk about this one stock in particular that I bought. So we'll see how that does. But it's a phenomenal tool, especially for people who can't trade the market open and they get freed up towards the end of the day to take advantage of plays overnight or over the weekends. And then the other tool is the 7-figure cycles, which is where I do my swing trading. So the model portfolio, I think, is up around 1,100% in less than a year. And it's been some really good trades on there. I caught SINT, which was a great one that gapped up 250% overnight, and then caught the Bitcoin breakout from 75K to 105K, and there's just numerous trades. ZAPP caught that one. And the thing with that portfolio is not all of them are going to be big wins, and they're not going to happen super fast. A lot of them are kind of slow burning stocks that kind of build up if they do over days, weeks, maybe even a month. And if they don't work, then it's just going to be cut off for a small loss. So you're just kind of continuing to trade the opportunities, and then eventually you're going to have a big winner if you're trading the right patterns in the right sectors in the right time during the freedom window, during the volatile periods. So
power signal indicator is ideal for people who want overnight trades from like basically 3:30 in the afternoon, maybe selling, same day and after hours or the next morning.
Yep.
7-figure cycles are more swing trades over several days.
Yes.
That's beautiful. So understand there's different patterns and different strategies, but this is why you have different tools and different indicators. You guys, your job is to learn this and to utilize this. And everyone always wants like one size fits all. They're like, I don't want to learn multiple patterns. I just want one play. But what we've learned, specifically is that there's multiple patterns, multiple strategies. People watching this, everyone has different personalities, and the market is changing. So I always say, like, people ask, like, which indicator should I use? Which tool should I try? I say try them all and, implement them into your own trading strategy. Do you agree?
That's why you shouldn't be profitable right off the bat. You should be losing money for the first 1 to 2 years. And you should be losing money because you're trying new things and you're soaking all the information up like a sponge.
That's going to be controversial, where you're saying that's why you shouldn't be profitable. People only want profits, but what they don't understand is that the way that you've grown your account exponentially, and the same thing with me, is that you don't just have immediate success, but you're learning these strategies, and the more that you learn the strategies and become a master, then you get an experience and a knowledge, an education of what to do, what not to do, so that eventually eventually, when you have fine-tuned everything, that's when you size up. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, the first beginning of the journey, it doesn't matter, right? I'd rather be down $5, $10, $15,000 and have an abundance of knowledge than be up 5, 10, 15K and learn less knowledge. Because think about it. If you're finding success off the bat, what are you going to do? You're going to take your foot off the gas and you're going to stop learning and you're going to stop pushing. But just like with my story earlier, if you put your back up against the wall and you're in the hole and you need to get out of that hole, how much harder are you going to work to get out of that hole, right? So that's why I would choose putting my back against the wall and really feeling pain and feeling a lot of learning frustration to become better and learn the techniques, because what matters is in the end of when you really start growing your account, once you get to your first 6 figures, first 7 figures, that's when you're going to be able to really supplement your trading income for a career and be able to make doctor salaries, be able to make professional sports player salaries eventually, maybe, depending on how far you take the game.
Yeah. And making a doctor's salary in like a few minutes or a few hours like you do, not necessarily over a year. I mean, your $1 million trade just a few days ago, I mean, that's like, that could be a decade to some doctors. That could be 20 plus years of a normal person's, average annual salary. But you did it in like 2 hours. But the way that Jack did that is because he learned with small size. When you're saying put your back up against the wall, experience the pain.
Don't do it with big size. That was one of my first lessons.
Right?
Start small.
But this is why I say start small. Everyone, they want to make a lot of money right away. I always say start small. They're like, screw that, I don't want to start small. If you're down $50,000 or $100,000 in the beginning, if you don't listen to us, if you start big, that can really impact you. You might never recover because now you're like, oh, I just suck at this, right? Mm-hmm. In the beginning, you lost money for what? How many months?
20 months of losing.
20 months of losing. I'm not saying you have to lose for 20 months, but while you were losing, you were learning. And you were trading with small size, right? So everyone's a little different. Many students like Tim Grattani, he didn't lose that much in the beginning, but he didn't make anything. For one whole year, Tim Grattani made nothing. Okay, Mariana, my first female millionaire student, she didn't even trade her first year while she was learning. So I think we need to get people's mindset in the proper order, right? Like where it's like, get rid of your whole idea of trying to make $1 million in like month 1 or year 1, but do what you have to do. You're planting seeds. If you look at this like, we're farmers and there's like a harvest, right? If you plant seeds and you're a farmer, you understand that, the sun needs to help the seeds grow. You need to water it. It takes time. No one plants seeds and then like watches the next day and then like, why is this plant not blooming, right? When you plant seeds, you understand there's a whole process. Like when you go to college for 4 years, you understand it's a 4-year process. You're not like, oh, I'm in year 2 of college. Why am I not CEO of a Fortune 500 company, right? But with trading, a lot of people expect immediate success. And what you've done, and now the 40 plus other millionaire students have done, is that You've understood that there's like you said, a marathon and not a sprint. Stay tuned. I have a big video for that coming up. I've been filming this video for 4 years now. You were a part of it in Greece, if you remember.
I do.
Right?
EOS.
What was that? 2 summers ago?
2022, I think. Almost
3 summers ago? So good things take time, but again, specifically with trading, it's good to trade small, it's good to learn multiple strategies, and it's good to plant those seeds so that you're properly prepared. Imagine if you had traded big in the beginning, you would have just lost big. Imagine if you had your current account size in the beginning, what would happen?
Probably decimate it at least 30 to 70%.
Right?
Yep.
And what would you do? I mean, with your current account size, that would be millions of dollars in losses. If you were to start now with the current account size, what would you do if you lost millions of dollars?
I'd give up, because if I had that kind of money, I would know that I could make that money in a different place, right? If I made millions
of
dollars.
In this hypothetical example.
Hypothetically, I'd just go back to what I was doing.
Well, let's say that you weren't doing anything. Let's say you were a trust fund baby, and your trust fund baby doesn't really want to listen to anybody else because their perspectives are all messed up. But no matter how you slice it, if you lose tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars in the beginning with no perspective and with no knowledge, you'll probably just give up. You'll probably just be like, trading isn't for me. But you're just doing it wrong, right?
Yeah, you're starting wrong.
This is why we need to educate you. This would be like giving a baby the keys to the Ferrari and the baby trying to drive the Ferrari without any, knowledge. A Ferrari is very fun. Trust me, I've had one. But at the same time, you need to learn how to utilize it, how to maximize it. And that's what trading is. Trading is an exotic car, but you can't just drive it, past the speed limit. Do you agree with that analogy?
Yeah, and I think where the issue comes is because there are some people that trade and they get rich quick, right? They have 10 grand, they put into an option. Jeremy Powell says they're cutting interest rates. The market goes up 6%. They have an option where the implied volatility wasn't anywhere near that. They make $350,000 in one day.
And you think that's trading?
And people see that that's done, right? Why do people not expect trees to grow overnight? Because it's never been done before. So since there is a potential opportunity to get lucky and to make a ton of money, that's where I think this flaw of get rich quick trading comes in from. And that is not going to happen to you. You have better chances of getting struck by lightning probably than making $300,000 off your first 10K position size.
But even if you do make that money,
you're going to lose it all.
There's a saying, a fool and his money are soon parted, okay? So I want people to understand it's not good enough just to make a lot of money. A lot of people want to get lucky, right? They're like, sounds good to me, I'll make a lot of money. But if you make money in the wrong way, if you get lucky, if you make money on a low odds trade setup, that will actually hinder you all your life, because then you're always looking for these low odds wins, right? Like someone who wins lotto once and they're like, come on, I want to do it again. Whereas what you're doing, even though your win rate isn't very high, it's not 100% like people think, you're trading high odds setups where the odds are in your favor and the upside is much more than the downside. So it's about using trading the right way, learning the right way, having the odds in your favor, and that way you can learn with small size, and once you get your footing, once you understand the process, then you size up. Right? Like in the beginning, you didn't size up at the first, right? It took you a while to size up. What gave you the confidence to really size up and realize, wait a minute, I could be making millions instead of just, thousands?
I just saw that I was consistently making money.
Correct. There was a process. You followed the process. So this is what I want you guys to take away from this. There's a very specific path that all my millionaire students and myself have followed. It's not necessarily the most fun path, especially in the beginning when you're learning and you don't really know that much. But we now have tools like PSI, Power Signal Indicator, and 7-figure cycles, and the challenge, and things like that to speed up your learning curve and make it less confusing, right? Like now, if people have the right mindset, if they're watching our videos, if they're using the tools, they actually understand, okay, let me do this, this, and this. And then 2, 3, 4 years from now, I've planted the seeds so that I can reap the harvest, no matter what the market is doing, right? I want people to understand, like, you can profit in volatile markets like this if you have the proper training. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
But if you have no training or improper training, you'll get decimated like many people are right now. Both you and I know a lot of traders who are hurting and investors who are hurting, whereas you and I are both profiting because we learned the proper way. I want you to understand there's a proper way to learn and trade, and there's improper ways. And there's thousands of improper ways, like whether you get lucky, whether you're gambling, whether you go all in. Like, when crypto was going crazy, crypto hasn't really run that much lately, but when crypto was going crazy, all the dumbest, most financially irresponsible people I know were making, quote, making a lot of money because they just hodled.
The crypto bros?
The crypto bros, right? And they were saying, oh, Sykes, you're obsolete. This is a new world. Then, of course, crypto crashed. And right now, Bitcoin's down like 10% year to date. What's going on, crypto bros, right? And a lot of crypto bros are all in. They're using leverage. So down 10% is really like down 50%. You don't have to be down that much. How do we get this through to people? How do we make an impact?
People they're going to have to decide if they want to listen or not. That's what I've realized in life.
Right?
You can't force people to do anything.
You can't help the helpless.
You can't. We can bring the horse to the water, but we can't force the horse to drink the water.
But that's
and
true.
You choose.
Right? But this is why we do interviews like this, and this is why we talk about this. This is why Jack shows all of his trades. I show all my trades. This is why you can see play after play. I know many people think that this is crazy. Like both you and I have done the seemingly impossible, turn a few thousand into a few million. Tim Grattani too. I don't know if you realize this, but like me, Tim Grattani, and you, 3 decades apart, all achieved the seemingly impossible, and you've done it the fastest. You're in the 3rd decade. Do you think that like Tim Grattani and my success helped you build faster?
100%, of course.
Because you cheated off us, using your old analogy, right?
I did cheat off you guys.
But I didn't. You're not cheating because I'm letting you show I'm showing you my stuff.
Somebody's going to cheat off me in 2030.
We encourage people to cheat, right? Like cheat, again, in quotes. No one's cheating here. But like I showed you my playbook. You looked at it. You copied it. Tim Grattani showed his playbook. You copied it. Now you're showing your playbook. And we encourage people to copy it too. You don't have to like cheat. You don't have to hide. There's nothing illegal here. We're trying to help you speed up your learning curve, right?
That's the point of teaching.
Do you like teaching?
Of course.
Well, it's not a given. Some people might not like it, right?
No, I think that teaching's great because it gives people an opportunity to really, even if I teach here though, it only matters how people interpret it, right? So I can be here giving away the best strategy, be giving away all the right tips.
Which I
am. And if you don't apply that and put in the work, like it's not going to get anywhere. Like somebody could be learning and putting in the work somewhere else and be learning less efficient strategies, not from me, learning from some fugazi trader or whatever. And maybe they're seeing a little bit of success, but it's all about how much you put in. So you really got to put in the work to get here. And I mean, they're so lucky to be at this place because this is the right spot to be learning from out of the whole industry. I promise you.
I agree. Listen, there's a lot of people on the internet. They claim a lot of things, but they don't show all their trades. They don't show their mistakes. They don't explain everything too. So this is why I'm so proud of our community. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Jack, for sharing everything so, transparently. Like, I want people to understand any of us can do this, right? Like, I'm not that good at math. I'm not that smart. How did you do in school?
Not good.
Right? But that's okay. This isn't just about book smarts. It's about following instructions, learning patterns, and staying disciplined, and being ready to capitalize. So while everyone pretty much is freaking out with the markets right now, you, myself, and a lot of other people, we know we're doing very well, having 5, 6, 7-figure years while most people are losing. It is possible, right?
Yeah, there's opportunity out there every single day.
But you have to capitalize and you have to be ready. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Jack, for sharing. Stick around, take notes. You got this.